Okay. So you were you wanted to know what Gnostics believed in, right? You wanted to know what a Gnostic
Yeah,
was.
because you had brought it up because of my username.
The username. Um, so yeah, the reason so Gnostics are basically not Gnosticism is Christian heresy, right? Gnosticism is Christian heresy. So Dave, what? So you understand that if you are part of the Abrahamic beliefs, right? If you're a Jew, a Christian, or a Muslim, you are a monotheist, right? You only believe in one God.
Of course,
So the Gnostics, they're not monotheists, right? I guess they would be considered like henotheists, all right? The original Jews, according to religious scholars, right, people who study religion, they said the original Jews were henotheists, right? So a henotheist is someone who says, okay, your gods are real, but I only worship one God, right?
your gods are real, but only
Yeah,
worship one God. Or like the all pantheons are real.
yeah.
There's only one, but
If you look
you
at
gotta pick which one. Like
hilarious,
some Hindu shit.
um, sort of, kind of like if you look at monotheism and humanity, it's pretty new. It's like it's kind of unnatural, right? You run into a bunch of theological problems with if you believe in one God with monotheism, especially if you believe that it's a personal God and that they're a good God, right? So one of the
Okay.
classic ones is if if God's all powerful and He's good, why is there evil? Basically, the original Jews, they were henotheists. They believed that all the other gods were real. It's just that they believed in the God of Abraham and Isaac. And at some point, they just decided, no, they're all not real. They're actually demons, and there's only one God, and became complete monotheists, right?
I don't get the point of it. I know. It's like what? Which like if
Heno is henotheism is just like Greek for one God.
I'm saying I don't get the point. If you believe that all of these uh religious lores are there and are exist, then you gotta go. Each one of these religions have like the creator God. Are they all lying?
No,
You know,
so the way you do it is the same way they do it now. Like, yeah, your creator God, your God's the creator, but He's also my God. It's the same God. We're just speaking different languages.
okay. But then you
And
just
then
end up.
you would argue about like certain events. Okay, this happened, this happened. You wouldn't really argue like so there were a bunch of stuff that happened. Like they used to like steal each other's gods and stuff. Like if you raided a country, you would just yeet the god. That happened to the Jews before.
That's
It
my.
was
Well, it
before.
happened a lot to the Jews. Are you kidding me? That's my
No, no, they
OC.
took they no the people would like go into the temples and they would take like the idols and stuff. But
Oh yeah.
now you can't really do idols in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. You don't do idols, so no one can steal God. Like so, that patch has been closed.
That's really funny. It reminds me of. Have you ever heard of OC?
No,
Internet
what's
concept
that?
of OC. Some people will create like a character, right? an
Oh, original
OC,
character.
original character, and so there's a saying that follows that, right? Or, this is my original character, or excuse me, this is my OC. Don't steal. So it just I'm just connecting that to like this religious stuff. It's just making me laugh.
Yeah.
This is
So
my God, don't steal.
yeah, they would physically take the god, but
Yeah,
anyway. So
which is kind of it's kind of sad because you're like kidnapping God. That's kind of weird.
it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is what they would do. Um, and but basically, everyone they believed that there was like um, multiple gods, but only they would only pray to one god. This is a lot of people do this, especially if there's like you have a religious system that has a bunch of gods. But
Hmm.
at some point, the Jews were like, "Nah, actually, these are just demons. These are just demons pretending to be gods, and there's only one God, right?" And at that point, um, you could say monotheism, as we know it, was created. Right? There was like monotheism in Egypt before, but that doesn't matter. Like the one that matters right now is like the Abrahamic belief, right?
Hmm. Oh,
And
I have a
at
question real quick. Are
yeah,
you
go ahead.
saying demons or demon?
No, demons.
Okay. Oh,
Well,
so actual demons. Okay.
yeah, these are demons, bro.
Okay.
Yeah. I said all that just to explain that the default for a lot of people for a long time is just basically believing in many gods, right? It's sort of unnatural. It's sort of unnatural to believe in only one God because then you start running into problems, right? Like I told you at the beginning. And over the years, a lot, a lot of the times over the years, usually the Christians, not so much the Jews or the Muslims, but it's really the Christians doing it a bunch of times. They would fall into um, basically making a ton of gods, right? The adding gods. That's the biggest heresy in Christianity. They just keep adding gods. Like, I think it's because like for the Jews and the Arabs, that this they're from the desert. They're desert people, so the actions of the Old Testament God make sense to them, right? Because that's their temperament. But for basically the Europeans, right, and the
Yep.
Africans too, like this is not like certain actions in the Old Testament don't seem to make sense. So they keep changing it, right? Like this is what happens when you do this stuff, right? When you globalize your religion, right? You start sharing your God, people start changing things about your God, right? So
True. True.
um yeah,
And your
yeah,
prophets.
like hmm?
And your prophets changes too.
Yeah. So at at some point the Christians decided Jesus is love and Jesus is God, but the world is evil and it was created by God. Well, then the world was created by an evil God, and there's a good God that sent Jesus to save us from the world, right?
Okay.
And they called themselves Gnostics, as in like knowing, like to know, like they had knowledge. Um, and what they were getting at was so one of the stories in the Bible in the Old Testament was the story of Adam and Eve, right? And story goes, Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden, right?
Hmm.
And while they're in it, it's paradise and all this stuff. And at some point, as they're in paradise, they've done an offense so bad that's gonna get them kicked out of paradise. And what was the offense? The original offense was they ate the fruit of knowledge, right?
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, why do you why did you eat the fruit of knowledge? Like this is a sin. You want to be like God. You want to know the
Your shame.
yeah, right. Now you know shame, and you want to be like God, and now you know the difference between good and evil. You have knowledge of good and evil. Oh no, right? This is bad, right? And this is what got them kicked out of paradise, and this is what is to the Catholics the origin of sin. This is the original sin, right? If you look at the Bible, you go from like one rule to like 1,000 rules. Like every time you break a rule, more rules start spawning, right? Like a Hydra's head, there's like rule after rule after rule, and you just keep breaking them. Um, but that's like the story of the Jews. But at this point, the Gnostics see the story of the Garden of Eden, and they say, "Oh well, this must be knowledge is good, and knowing the difference between good and evil, there's nothing wrong with that. The snake must be a messenger from the true God to help us get escape from the confines of evil. Like the real world is evil, and this was a good act to awaken the minds of the people. The original humans, Adam and
Yeah.
Eve, right? Stay woke. Uh,
Stay woke. Absolutely.
absolutely, stay woke. And then there's another story where
It, it's very funny. I'm not gonna lie. Inside this religion, they believe like they have like the. It's not even like they believe like they have like the right religion, like the right religion. They believe like they have the correct version of the religion. It's like we have the background information of what's actually going on. That's kind of funny. I think that's actually really funny.
yeah, they
It's like
just
a
added
special version of Christianity.
yeah, they added a bunch of stuff to the Old Testament, and this is just what happens anytime you read something, you interpret it through a certain lens. And
Uh,
what happened was there was another story,
mhm.
and the other story was the Tower of Babel, right? And the Tower of Babel is basically the origin of. It's a story that was created to explain why people speak different languages, right? So it's like one day in Babylon, right, which was a real place. One day in Babylon,
Yeah, I know.
uh, they they uh, they got so rich and powerful that they were like, "Hey, let's just build a tower to God," right? And they went to go build a tower to God. God saw it and he demolished it. And not only did he demolish it, he was like, "This is what happens when people work together too well. So I'm gonna like mix up their words so they can't understand each other and don't ever work together as they to do something this amazing ever again."
Well, I believe it wasn't just that the tower was to reach heaven, so it was a lesson to them to not to try to. uh, encroach in his world, his domain, heaven. I don't think it was just a don't work together type lesson.
No, yeah,
I
no,
could
but
be
that
wrong though.
no, you're wrong. Literally, that's what it says. Like they were working together
Damn.
too well, and
Are you dead ass?
they,
Are you dead ass?
you got it half right. Like it was literally they worked together too well, and because they were like the punishment was you mix up people's languages so they don't work together too well because when they do that they start trying to like build a tower to heaven. Yeah, that was literally the
Might be Gnostic.
okay. So
But if I believe this stuff, I would be Gnostic. I swear to God.
very funny. So I guess you're woke at this point. Um,
Stay woke. Stay woke.
stay woke, bro. Um, okay. So the thing is, there's like a third story, right?
Hmm.
The third story is the story of Cain and Abel. In the story of Cain and Abel, what happens is they're two brothers. These are the children of Adam and Eve, and like Cain was like the original hustler. Man, he got it out the fucking mud. Like he was, like he was a farmer,
Hmm.
and Abel was like a pastoralist, basically, and uh, Cain worked really hard on his offerings to God. Like he like he did a lot, right? He did a lot. He worked really hard on his offering to God. He grew, I forget what he grew, but he grew some crops, and then he presented it to God. God was like, "Thanks, but no thanks. Get it out of here." You know, thanks, but not no, thanks, but no thanks. Get it out of here, right? And then Abel uh, brought him like he milked some animal, and then he like picked some fruit, and then he gave that to God, and God was like, "Thanks, man, I appreciate it." And no, for real, like he milked some animal and then picked some fruit on the way to God, not on the way to God, but you know what I'm talking about. Basically that, and
Yeah,
he gave it to God, and then God was like, "Man, I appreciate this a lot, man." And Cain got mad, bro. He was like,
understandable.
"Bruh."
Understandable crash out.
Understandable crash out. So yeah, like so he does that. So yeah, like since you said he's a crash out, you know what happened next, man.
Yeah,
He can't can't kill God, so he killed his brother, bro.
yeah.
And then God went to him and was like, "Cain, man, where's Abel?" And it's like he was like, "Bro, I don't know. Do I look like am I my brother's keeper? Bro, I don't know where that man at." But God already knew where he was at.
Probably
He was in the
milking
dirt.
somebody. Yeah, he was in the
Huh?
dirt. He was in the dirt.
He was in the dirt. He was in the dirt. So yeah, Cain gets cursed, and then Adam and Eve have another kid because the good one is dead, and the bad one is cursed. So they have another kid, and then boom, right? But that's the story. As far as like theologians go, they basically say the Jews were pastoralists at this point, and the people who wrote the Bible were just trying to say like, "Hey, bro, don't be a farmer, bro. Like, like God doesn't like it." But you can look at it from a certain perspective, right? Um, do you know the ecological consequences of farming?
Uh, yeah,
Like
it's
like tillage.
I thought we were talking about uh, global warming and the rise of CO2 from farming.
Bro, think about think about this, right? This is this is my problem with Gnostics, right? You can look at these stories and you can see the issue, right? Think about Cain and farming. He farms. When you farm, what do you do? When you farm, you gain ownership of the land. Like without farming, there's no such thing as owning land, because everyone would be like, bruh, like there's no point in owning the land. You just keep traveling, go wherever you go. But farming, you put in your blood, sweat, and tears to make something happen, to make something grow, right?
Hmm.
And if someone comes through and starts eating your crops that you worked hard on, that you starved yourself to get, now you have a problem. Now you have
Yeah,
to
protect your
exactly. There's
land.
no you got to protect your land. So now you went from steward of this land to the owner of this land. In the original, you're just supposed to be like Adam didn't own the animals. He didn't own paradise. God was the owner of the land, right?
True.
But now humans own the land. You own the land. You don't. You're not a steward of anything. Like that's the that's the problem. That's the problem. You want to be like God. God is the owner of the land. So when they say you eat the apple and want it to be like God, that is the direct consequence. You now are God and own the land.
That makes
You see what I'm
sense.
getting at?
Yeah, I see what you're getting
Yeah.
at.
This causes a bunch of conflict. As the steward, you see that you have to be very careful of this, very careful of this, mindful of that, mindful of this. There's none of that when you own it. It's just yours, right? You can do whatever you want with it. You can exploit it.
Hmm. That's the best part of
So,
owning something.
facts, right? So there's that, right? But if you're just like a pastoralist, there's no owning the land, right? You don't till anything. You can tilling stops old growth, right? The tilling stops old growth. Like there's no like I'll get into that later, but this is but the thing is when you farm, you do tillage, monocultures, right? You do genetic modification, right? You
True.
get ownership of the land that's not yours, right? You do all this stuff through farming, right? You become sedentary. You become sedentary. You create countries. You defend borders. You do all this stuff. Then think about the Tower of Babel, right?
Hmm.
The Tower of Babel, think about the logistics in building a tower to God. Something that ma- massive and magnificent, all the quarries that are disturbed, to get the limestone and all the forests that are chopped down to get the wood. Like, think about the logistics behind that, all the ecological damage that a tower to God will do. When you look at the Old Testament, God just shows up whenever, like, he's always around. So why is it that you must control the environment so that even God is just always accessible? He's under your control.
True. Now that you put it that way, I would also act the same way. Like if you
Yeah,
had someone trying to uh like it's like if someone was trying to if your neighbor walked to the house and was trying to unscrew your door from your house so they could always reach you. It'd be kind of bad, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
You would react the same way God did, right?
yeah, absolutely.
you might react worse. Right? In all three stories, you see you get a perspective on why each time God would be upset. Right?
Absolutely.
Human beings want everything to be under their control, everything to be convenient, even at the expense of, you know, at the expense of anything possible, anything imaginable, even God. Right? Everything has to be convenient.
True.
And yeah, bro, and it's if it's not convenient, then it's evil, bro. There's, bro, literally before thinking that there's a reason for the actions of the God in the Old Testament, they literally just thought, okay, he's evil.
Which is I'm not gonna lie, which is understandable. Which is understandable. Convenience is good. I could see the connection. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because you're human, and bro, you like convenience. Convenience is
Yeah,
convenient.
of course. Of course. Convenience is great.
It's beautiful. But yeah, bro, I'm telling you, that shit's funny. And then the thing is, that's a perspective that I just injected. Right? It's not. It's probably not the perspective of the people who wrote the Bible. It's anachronistic to say that that's what they were going for. Right? That's like an ecological angle, and people really don't care about ecology all that much. I mean, some people did, but not as that perspective is kind of new. But yeah,
Mm,
so but yeah, there, bro, bro. And also the thing about them is there were a bunch of other stories. It wasn't just those three that they were like, okay, this dude is wicked. It was like, the story
blood.
with there was a story with the Canaanites and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna go into that. I'm not gonna go into that. But yeah, the story with the Canaanites, they were like, okay, this might not be so good. And also, like I said, the main thing was, if evil exists and God's all powerful, why is there still evil? That's the main issue they had.
Sure. Uh, Which I understand that one. I understand the end position from someone who was like a caring individual who believes in religion and God coming to a position of like that there has to be a another being who is equal to uh, my God, who's evil, who works against the kind one.
Yeah.
I get it. Makes sense.